This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody. WFO. Hopefully you're having a great day out there in the world. Joe Costello back with you and super excited about today's show. Those of you who have been following WFO Radio the last 5 to 10 years know that we are mostly involved in the world of NHRA drag racing. Me working at the NHRA and spending a lot of time out there, being an avid bracket racer myself. Yes, I can say that again now. What you might not know is that I spent several years working at NASCAR Radio, and prior to that, helped launch the whole NASCAR scene in South Florida. The early days of Homestead Miami Speedway and media guys JJ O'Malley and Phil DeMontmollin, and the early days when NASCAR and Miami weren't the obvious thing. Well, today we're going back to our roots a little bit as NASCAR Cup comes to Homestead Miami Speedway. This weekend, it's going to be great. The Dixie Vodka 400. It's the first time the race has ever been this early in the season. They moved it right behind Daytona, the 2 Daytona races. And so we are going to have a little NASCAR South Florida themed show at the very end. I'll talk some drag racing. We'll talk a little bit about the upcoming weeks, but I'm super excited. We got Quin Houff going to be on the show. Cup drivers, think of how rare that is to ascend to the highest level of whatever your sport. Quin is going to be on the show. He's got a new sponsor announcement, going to be taking in the sights and sounds of South Florida. It is going to be great. And then right after Quin, we're going to hear from president of Homestead Miami Speedway, Al Garcia. And we're going to, they're going to try to pack the house as much as they are allowed. And that's the whole challenge. We're still dealing with the pandemic situation, as everybody knows, but I'm excited to have the motorsports season off and running. Before we get to Quin, who is down there in the ready room, I want to make sure everybody knows that I am able to do this podcast, this Facebook Live and YouTube show because of people like Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology, Matt Hartford, Lake Speed Jr., Keith Jones. These guys, they help keep us going, and we do a podcast specific for them, for people who are really interested in how they make such big power in these cup engines, for instance. There's a whole lot of them that got Total Seal piston rings, by the way. Check them out, totalseal.com. Also, samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology, the next generation of crew chiefs and engine builders on both the NHRA side, cup side, frankly, coming out of Samtech. Check them out, samtech.edu. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, if you'd ever like to drive a dragster, frankhawley.com. And my man Marvin down there in Fort Worth, Texas, roasting up special elite level coffee, fresh per your order. Marvin Rodax Coffee and Grills.com. Plus our friends at Nitro Fish, very helpful to WFO Radio, providing our 10th anniversary t-shirts. You can get them at nitrofishracing.com. But now let's head out and bring on our guest of honor today. We'll be starting 38th, thanks to the qualifying metric. I don't know if we're liking that qualifying metric right now. Mr. Quin Houff. Quin, welcome to WFO. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
I am thrilled to have you on. I spent a lot of time on NASCAR Radio interviewing NASCAR racers, and I now do a lot of drag racing, but I find that if it's got wheels and engine and a driver, people are interested. You racing at the cup level has got to be amazing now that you are in your second season. You get to go back to all those places you learned about last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a humbling thing, right? I mean, like anybody in any motorsports, it's always want to do better. You want to do better and you want to get higher. And it's very humbling to be one of 40 that gets to line up in the NASCAR Cup Series every weekend and get to go out there and race. I mean, it's a dream come true. It was a dream I had since I was 8 years old, racing go-karts in Virginia, and I'm just enjoying the moment. And we've got some exciting news with 8-Ball Chocolate Whiskey coming on board, and we're looking for some of that magic 8-ball luck because Daytona wasn't too nice to us, and we're looking to hit our stride better starting at Homestead.
Well, exactly. And Daytona wasn't too nice to a lot of people. But this race sounds like a party, right? We got Dixie Vodka as the race sponsor, and you have got 8-Ball Chocolate Whiskey. And first of all, I got to ask, how old are you?
I'm 23.
23. So, of course, that only makes sense. They couldn't sponsor a 20-year-old driver with a whiskey sponsorship, right? For all the people wondering out there. But that sounds pretty intriguing. Chocolate whiskey. What's the report? Give us the product report. How is it? Sounds interesting.
Yeah, it is what it says it is, and it's very good. Chocolate whiskey. Paul Thomas and his team out of Southern California over into Vegas. They've they've created this, and who doesn't recognize the 8 Ball logo? I mean, it sells for itself. The appeal to it's good, and it's super smooth for a guy like me. I'm always after dinner wanting to almost offset something with like a little bit of sweet, and this 8 Ball whiskey hits the spot, and it's very good too, whether you want to make milkshakes or you want to even add it to your coffee. And a popular one is to mix it with Screwball and have a Reese's shot. So the product is selling off the shelves as fast as they make it, from what Paul tells me, and it's making its way across America. And it's so refreshing as a driver, especially a young driver, for a company that's growing to look at me and say that they believe in what we're doing and the hard work and the grinding that we're doing at the level we're doing it at. And we're excited to be a part of the 8 Ball family and help that brand grow as we grow.
Well, I think it's great. And the car rendering is that's a good looking stock car right there. First of all, yes, the 8 Ball, the magic 8 Ball, the 8 Ball in general. Like, that's an iconic look. And you get to rock this weekend at Homestead Miami Speedway. And right, maybe you'll get a little luck. Who knows? And everybody could use a little bit of luck. I appreciate them for supporting you and your career. I mentioned we're going to hear Al Garcia a little bit from now. This is a track that, you know, I announced their Friday night street drags, Fast Lane Friday on pit road. Like, I've got a lot of just emotional equity in this track. I love the place. And I want to know what you think about it, right? Being young in your career, coming to this track that really, whenever I ask, people say it's not like anywhere else. 1.5 miles, but kind of that bowl feel, the variable banking. The sun has just worn it out. You raced there last year. Give me your assessment of what do you think about the facility, the track, and what it's going to take to be successful?
Yeah, just like you said, it really is. Homestead Miami Speedway is really different from any other track. It's that 1.5 miles, but at the same time, it's got a little bit slower speeds and a little bit more of that short track feel to it with that progressive banking. And with it being down there in Miami and the high temperatures and the abrasive surface, it really plays a strategy in the tire game. And the line changes a lot. You can run from the bottom to the middle to the top. And as your tires wear, you see that change as well. So it adds a lot into a race. And I've had the opportunity to run it in Xfinity fairly early in my National Series tour when I was younger, and I had the opportunity to run it last year as well. And you know, I've never been a huge fan of abrasive tracks, but I've started to learn how the strategies kind of play out in tire conservation, and I've started to enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to having Homestead bumped up this year, being our first 1.5 mile race, and like I said, it's cool to have a brand new sponsor come on board to take there with it. So I'm looking forward to it for sure.
And you could get some cool weather, maybe not. Maybe the abrasiveness, the slick level may be less, considering that we're so early in the year. Then again, maybe not. Now, you've said that you're not into the really abrasive tracks. Is that because you came up in go-kart racing? Feels like that would be the reason, because go-karts, I know tires matter a lot in go-karts, but tire management, I don't know how much of a thing that is. Why don't you lay that on us?
Yeah, like you said, at a lot of lower levels of racing, tires do matter, and that's in tire prep and stuff like that. But, you know, as far as tire conservation, you really don't get into a whole lot of that until you get to certain tracks, because so many races at those levels are short enough that you can pretty much go 110% and make it. So tire conservation in these 400, 300, 500-mile races is a big deal. And Richmond's similar, and that's a track right here near home where I grew up in Virginia, and it's a short track version with the abrasiveness. So it's all about not letting that tire slip and keeping conscious of that, and also trying to have a good strategy to fall right as far as green flag pit stops and cautions go.
Love it. All right. One of our listeners out there wants your elevator pitch. And let's face it, you're trying to fight your way into the series. You're trying to make this your living. Like, wouldn't it be great if you could run 10 years at the Cup Series level or more, get yourself a win? People are always looking for new people to root for. So Derek wants to know your elevator pitch. Like, how'd you get here? How did you get to this point, Quinn?
Yeah, you know, that's what makes our sport so interesting, is the ladder system as far as how you climb the ranks is it's different for every driver. It's not like other sports where you have specific levels that you have to go through or specific qualifications that you have to go through. And I worked very closely with NASCAR early in my career, and it was really just about, you know, I have what amount of sponsorship each year, and where can I position myself to put myself in the best position as a driver, but also the best exposure for sponsors. And, you know, it wasn't ever necessarily the easiest or prettiest thing. It wasn't that full-time thing. It might not have been the top of the line equipment, but I did what I had to do as far as working with NASCAR, getting my license qualifications up to present myself as an eligible driver in the Cup Series. And, that's what we accomplished in 2019. I was allowed to run about half the season in 2019 at the Cup level, and went into 2020 eligible to run a full season. And I can't thank Mike and Matt Kohler enough at Starcom to allow me to be a part of their program. They're a new team to the Cup level relatively. We're heading into only our fourth full-time season. And for them to take a chance on a rookie that was as green as me means a lot. And like I said, just with the 8-Ball Whiskey jumping aboard, it's refreshing to have a team also believe in you and what you're doing and how hard you've worked to get where you're at. And that's what every driver is trying to do, is ultimately get to one of those 40 seats. So like I said, it's very humbling to be here. And now I'm just here trying to gain that experience and continue to prove that I belong here and continue to working hard along the way.
That Starcom connection in going back and forth to set this interview up, I noticed Millburn, New Jersey, and I had to shout out because that's where my dad is from. And it's a small town. And I was like, Millburn, New Jersey, man, that's where Papa Joe is from. And had a little back and forth about that. But I think that's cool that you've got a team that has got some sort of office or is based in the Northeast, the metropolis that is New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, that area, but is also involved at the highest level of NASCAR. That's kind of cool. And not every team can just start out, at a multi-car team. Like, we want small teams getting involved and trying to grow. That's the whole sport.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, with NASCAR having some new teams coming in this year as well, it's just really nice to see NASCAR moving into a place where you have new teams coming in, newer, younger owners coming in, trying to take their shot at NASCAR racing. And Mike and Matt are just like me. When I started out, we were all race fans. At the end of the day, we're all motorsports fans, just going out here trying to achieve our dreams. And it's really cool to be a part of that family with them. And they have a lot of great people in place and have come a long way since they've opened their doors. So I'm still honored to go into my sophomore year as a Cup driver, working with them and continuing their program forward. And I'm really looking forward to the transition with NASCAR that's going into a next-gen car as well in 2022. So hopefully that's the poise to accomplish plenty of things this year, but also set up for a exciting 2022 as NASCAR makes a move.
Well, as you talked a little bit about your background, I thought about that because there's a couple of things that are kind of moving in your direction, and I want you to talk a little bit about it. The next level car, I've been trying to explain it to my friends, and I'm like, to me, it looks a little more like a Trans Am series car. Like, all the technology that sports cars have kind of evolved over the years looks like it's going to be employed in these stock cars, whether it be the transmissions and the shifters, or no more H pattern, for instance, or the lug nuts being gone, having wheel hubs and having kind of a more sports car feel. To me, that's more go-kart racer friendly. That's part one. Part two, all the road courses. I've been saying for years, road courses are the new Bristol. That's where the anger comes out, the fighting for position. And I would imagine you've got a lot of left-right experience coming out of go-karts. Would you agree that the series is coming your way?
Well, I mean, you kind of got it and you don't. As far as, the car changing, it is changing a lot. There's going to be a lot of new aspects to this car. We're driving, we're going to have different rear end suspension. Like you said, with the transmission, it's going to be sequential. The whole chassis itself is going to be different, and as well as the body, and it's going to definitely have that more of a sports car look. And the way NASCAR is looking to build these cars and have these cars distributed should hopefully become, after a while, more cost effective for teams and present more opportunities for newer teams to come into the sport, or different OEMs, for instance. So it's a new and exciting thing. However, on the road course side of things, I have been an oval guy all of my life, and the road course side of things is definitely a learning curve for me. It's a very, very different technique as far as how you approach corners or how you look at corners, with the braking and the downshifting, especially this year with the H pattern. And we only got to run 2 last year, and we got 8 this year now. So I'm going to have to learn how to do that pretty quick. But I do think going into the next gen car with that new car and the suspension differences and the shifting differences, that car is going to be a lot more aggressive and a lot more fun to drive on road courses as well.
Well, exactly. So fun to drive, like the road course experience, Daytona. I had fun watching, the high banks one week and then the road course another week, having watched the Rolex 24. I thought that the stock cars looked good out there. And it's all these personalities that we know. Every car has got the character of the driver, and you see, and Brad Kay, he's locking up and having problems, and everyone's having problems. I like to see high-level athletes struggle a little bit, like the U.S. Open, right? Like the best golfers in the world are up to their necks in rough. It looks like everybody is kind of sorting out their program because they know you've got to be good now. You can't just kind of blow over the road courses.
Exactly. It's become a definite focus, and I think that's because the concentration for so long was on not I don't want to call them cookie cutter tracks, if you will, but something that was the majority of the NASCAR schedule, and it's been going on for multiple years. And these guys that have been in the Cup Series have gotten so good at it, and also the teams have got it under just their thumb as far as setups go and aerodynamics go, and everything like that. And now with NASCAR shaking the schedule up, adding places in, adding more road courses, adding new road courses nobody's been to, adding dirt races. This is all going to make it to where these guys and teams are going to have to go back to work and get to learning. And that's something that I'm excited for, just as in the fact that I'm a rookie and I'm young and I've been learning for many, the past 2-3 years, and I'm fresh at that. So some of these guys are going to have to get up and do a little bit more homework, do a little bit more practice, which I know they will. They're top level athletes. These are the best 40 in the nation, but that's what makes it is exciting. That's kind of like the old Bristol field when they repaved it. It's just different. These guys have to go out and learn it. They haven't been there and run many laps. So I think that's kind of more what we're seeing with these road course races, as you said, as NASCAR transitions into more of them.
The dirt track at Bristol. Are you ready for that?
We won't know till we get there. Like I said, I've been an oval guy, oval asphalt guy. I haven't had any dirt experience as well. So they threw this Bristol dirt race in, and I have a great partner, Sim Seats out of Richmond, Virginia. I have a iRacing simulator at home, and as soon as I heard about that, I've been running anything I can run on that thing in dirt just to get that visual. What is the line of vision you have to have? What is the way the wheel? How does it react? What about gas? How does it react in the corner when you lift or when you get back to it? And doing that in any dirt car I can, just to get the feel for how these dirt cars react to things. But it's one thing to go dirt racing at a dirt track, and it's another thing to go dirt racing at a track that hasn't been in dirt before. So that adds a whole nother aspect in at Bristol, and it's got a lot of hype around the sport. So I'm really looking forward to going down there, and I hope we put on a great show for everybody.
Well, I agree. I'm excited about Homestead. I see Al Garcia is down there. He's the president of Homestead Miami Speedway. He's going to be up next. This guy has been involved in South Florida motorsports since the Grand Prix of Miami back in the day, now kind of at the helm of Homestead Miami Speedway. I just noticed, I was like doing some research. We've had 2 first-time winners to start the season. Like, when was there ever 3 first-time winners to start a season? And it was in 1949. The first season, and that only makes a sense. Let's talk a little bit about this race. How are you going to handle yourself in terms of, everybody says, man, I want to go out and win the race, but you're in a different spot. You're trying to help the team survive, get to the next race, build up an inventory, get a little love, get some TV time while gaining some experience. Like, how do you handle that strategy? Like, when to race somebody else really hard, when to maybe fall on your sword in a corner a little bit, let somebody go. That aspect of it has got to be very challenging for like a young go-getter who wants to compete and show what you've got.
Right, yeah, it's the race within the race, and that's an interesting perspective that a lot of fans might not see, is that within each race every Sunday, there's almost 2 or 3 races going on within that race. And as a driver, you have to understand and realize which race and which drivers and cars that you're directly competing against. And you have to know those limits, If you try to overdrive that car or equipment into a place that shouldn't be, you are going to overstep those boundaries and compromise your day, which is very hard on a small team. So that's something I really learned a lot about in my rookie season last year. And you think these races are long, but every race for a team like ours could be made or broke right in the first, to that competition caution or to that first stage break. We have to try to stay on the lead lap as long as we can, which opens the door up to a whole new book of strategies that we can perform rather than going a lap down early. So that's kind of been my focus heading into 2021 is firing off better with the experience that I have now, being a little bit more aggressive early and staying on the lead lap longer to enable my team to be able to pull strategies to better those finishing results at the end of the day.
Well, I think it's fantastic. I'm excited for you. Any young racer at the beginning of their career, as young as you are, that's able to get in a Cup Series level car and gain that experience. Dream come true already, but I know you want more and you want to go out there and make a way for yourself. I'm excited to watch you. Congratulations. You've got, you have a way to celebrate if you have a good run, right? The chocolate whiskey, the 8 Ball chocolate whiskey on board. To those guys, good job with the sponsorship with you. And we're going to be watching you in a different way for the remainder of the season, Quinn. I thank you for your time. We've got a fantasy league. I'm sure all our fantasy players are going to be, well, you tell me, should our fantasy players start you this weekend?
Hey, like I said, we got some magic 8 Ball luck on our side now. So I think if there's a time to start, that now is a good one. We're going to go down to Miami and do everything we can to have a good finish out of there.
That's awesome. Quinn, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on WFO Radio Podcast. Really appreciate our audience out there, Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. This is a great guy to root for. Really appreciate it. I wish you great luck, and hopefully we can do this again in the future as you continue to gain experience and rack up some good finishes.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for having me on.
Way to go, Quinn. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend down here in Homestead. There he goes. Quinn Houff with us here on WFO Radio. Very exciting young man. And this is what I love. I love the idea of like the next generation of racing. And then there's the last generation of racing, who is also the current generation. Mr. Al Garcia, president of Homestead Miami Speedway. What's
Joe,
up?
how are you, Joe?
I'm great. What are you, out on the front stretch? Are we looking up at the grandstand?
Yeah, yes, we are. Yes, we are. Hey, thank you for having me, Joe. I'm excited for the weekend, and you know, as a true motorsports. First of all, you're supremely knowledgeable, but you have a passion for it, Joe. And I want to publicly acknowledge that and thank you for all your support.
Well, thank you very much. You know, I was telling Quinn and my audience, who is I don't know, mostly drag racing at this point, NHRA fans, but I have love for NASCAR. And I have great love for Homestead Miami Speedway because, Al, I was thinking about like the wars that we've been through early on, talking 2000, 1999, setting up NASCAR action in a sport, in a town that wasn't, I don't want to say they didn't embrace it, but certainly not knowledgeable, right? Like those early years, J.J. O'Malley, Phil DeMontmall, all the stuff that we were doing. It was hard work. There was a lot of effort that went in.
You know, Joe, you're absolutely right, and I think we're seeing now the fruits of our labor, because you're right. It was incredibly hard work, but you know, I am so proud of NASCAR and the bold steps they've taken in the social justice space. What they did, banning the Confederate flag, supporting Bubba Wallace, and again, very bold. You know, they're at the forefront of this whole social justice movement, and you know, it's paying dividends. Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide is involved. Michael Jordan thought enough of it to actually put his money where his mouth is and fund a race team that could really put Bubba Wallace in some really great equipment for the first time in his career. I'm really excited about that. Danny Suarez with the Trackhouse team and Mr. Worldwide behind him. Those are the things that are going to really help us reach a more diverse audience and folks that, you know, kind of were curious, didn't really know. Joe, you and I go back in South Florida for a long time. And, you know, I have friends that I grew up with, like, what is NASCAR? What happens? How is it? And now the more mainstream people is becoming more legitimized. And Alvin Kamara's involved. Antonio Williams from the Buffalo Bills is involved. So it's really exciting. And of course, you were talking to Quinn and the young guns. I mean, Chase Elliott is just absolutely on fire. Ryan Blaney, you know, Bubba Wallace. There's a bunch of young guys coming in. So I think the future is really bright for NASCAR. The next gen car, I think, is also going to be something that's more relevant to the younger audience and the people that understand cars and racing with the technology that has finally entered into NASCAR. So I think things are great, man. And we're here. We're not going anywhere. And we continue to have, in my opinion, the most competitive 1.5 mile oval on the circuit.
Well, no, it's definitely fantastic with the 3 wide, 4 wide, sometimes 5 wide racing. It's funny you mentioned the social justice deal, because on the WFO Radio podcast, like when that all went down, there was some pushback. Like, we from Miami area, like, diversity is second nature. We don't even think about it. It's just second nature. But there are other people that don't think about it, haven't been exposed to it. So it's a little bit of a tougher sell. And our whole country, our whole world is really going through that. And I think about those old school NASCAR fans or people in general that don't like change, right? But if they've got a good heart, they'll get there, and they'll get there eventually. And I think we're starting to see that, in that if the racing is good, you're going to have people watching. And that's what I'm hoping for it. So let's talk about the race this weekend. We got the Dixie Vodka 400. Quinn's got his whiskey sponsorship, so it's a party. It's very Miami. The Contender Boats 250 on Saturday, but we're still in a pandemic, Al. So how does that? You're going to have a limited crowd here. How does it affect the way things are going down? Last year, you had first responders there. It's not easy to navigate the situation. I know people feel like we're coming out of it. I agree, but we're not out of it yet. So how are you going to handle that?
No, well said, Joe. We're certainly not out of it. I will tell you that we were honored, and with the hard work of a lot of people, including at the time Mayor Carlos Jimenez, Mayor Losner from the city of Homestead, Governor DeSantis, allowed us to be the first sporting event to host a live audience last year. And it was first responders, and it was a very limited crowd. It was about 1,500. This year, we're going to host probably about 18%. So in the neighborhood of 10,000 people will be here with us. Just about all the tickets for Sunday are spoken for. There's still 30 or 40 Champions Club tickets left. On Saturday, we do have a few thousand tickets left. But, I do agree that the pandemic is, and as the vaccines become more and more available, we're really looking forward to getting back to normal. But right now, there's three distinct areas, Joe. We have the competition bubble, the NASCAR bubble, which is the entire infield. Anything that comes through that turn 3 tunnel, you're in the bubble. So it's limited to essential personnel only, period. And, I'm also proud of NASCAR and the fact that some of the stick and ball sports that were operating under the pandemic protocols, whether it be a college football team or whatever, you'd see spikes, right? 10, 12, 14 kids would get it, or the Marlins had a little issue with it or whatever, but NASCAR was clean the whole year. And it was amazing that we were able to run all 36 races. It was just a monumental effort, right? And so to build on that success, we're going to have the NASCAR, a very extensive screening and temperature checks and all that in the NASCAR competition bubble. We'll have another area where we screen all of our internal guests. By that, I mean food service workers, ushers, tram drivers, security guards, police, firefighters, and those people get screened in another location. And then ultimately, the fans that arrive at the track will park. We will allow them to tailgate, but this is where the responsibility lies with the fans. We're asking them to stay with their travel party. So if they arrived in the same car together, they can put up a tent, they can have a grill, they can party, they can tailgate, but we don't want them to mingle or co-mingle or mix with others, so that with the potential of spreading something, right? They get to the gates, they get their temperature checked, they get a quick questionnaire, then they get scanned and stubbed and come on in. And when they're inside the stadium, we're going to ask them to wear their masks. We're going to ask them to respect the social distancing protocols, and we're going to ask the travel groups to stay together, to stay within their group. And the facility, as you know, Joe, is overbuilt for the 20%, or actually it's like 16.5% crowd that we're going to have. So I think everybody's going to really enjoy it. And the most exciting is the competition on track, right, Joe? I mean, in the past, there's been 4 drivers that were eligible for a championship, and the other guys and gals and drivers just didn't want to kind of get in the way, right? So now you're going to have 38 drivers that are eligible to get a spot in the playoffs. So they're going to be digging. The competition is going to be fierce, and this track lends itself to that type of activity. I mean, I'm really anxious and looking forward to seeing how these drivers that are in a position to capture a playoff spot race here at Homestead Miami Speedway, the 3rd race of the season. It's going to be phenomenal.
We're definitely in a new phase, where personalities, youth, new car coming, new things happening. We didn't know, like I would say, like the last 4 years prior to last year, maybe lost some emphasis, but it makes sense when the Dale Juniors and the Jeff Gordons and the Jimmy Johnsons retire and go away, and you've lost your driver. Whereas like the Miami Dolphins are always going to be the Miami Dolphins, even if we lose our quarterback, right? We're kind of going through this for the first or maybe second time in our NASCAR fandom, seeing as the sport has been mainstream popular for like 25 years or so, like one of the big major sports. And we did have a down period, but now we're back. You mentioned the Ryan Blaney's and the Chase Elliott. Of course, what a great year he had. And people are reconnecting with a new layer of drivers. I asked Quinn, I'll ask you. You guys have got a great road course in the center of Homestead Miami Speedway. The oval is fantastic, but just from a road course perspective, coming out of promotion of the Grand Prix of Miami, what do you think about the way that NASCAR at the Cup level is kind of trending towards the road course? I've always said road courses are the new Bristol. It's where the anger is. It's where the energy is. It's where guys are crashing each other and yelling at each other. It's just, it's an aggravation, and they've put many more on the schedule. What do you think about that, Al?
I think it's fantastic. I think it's another discipline. It shows how talented these drivers are. You know, the old adage of all I do is drive around in circles and turn left. Well, not so much. You know, when you're hard on the brakes and going up and down through the gears and turning right and, you know, off camber corners and increasing radius and decreasing radius, it's a different discipline, right? And so I would welcome the opportunity to someday see what we can do here. But, you know, it's hard to get away from our oval because, as you know, most of the intermediate tracks are cookie cutter tri-ovals. Ours is very, very unique and very, very racy. So to kind of do that, what I'm looking for, Joe, is a doubleheader. Road course on Saturday, oval on Sunday, and if you win both, you get $1 million or something like that. So that's the promoter in me coming out, and I'm pitching it. Lukewarm reception, but you know, at least it cracked the door open for some of the people that can make those things happen to consider what I'm pitching. So.
No, I like it though. I like it. Like right off the bat, doubleheader weekend, Miami, big event town. It's unfortunate that we don't have the championship race anymore. I understand why, but they got to help us out, right? Big
That's
event
right.
Town. When things get back to normal, everybody's going to want to travel. They're going to want to be down here. They're freezing their tails off. Why not come down for a big doubleheader weekend here at Homestead Miami Speedway?
And you're a racer, you know it'll save the team's money, right? You get two points races, 2 purses paid out in one weekend, and you only have 1 weekend of travel expense, right?
That's right.
The teams are on board. Bring a road course car, bring an oval car, and let's go.
I love it. I love it. Where do we have to go? All right, you're pitching me. I'm on board. I got to pitch you a little bit. Fastlane Friday, Homestead Miami Speedway. I'm in the announcer. You guys bring me in. I love it, man. Those kids. It's growing. You can see like their love of the automobile, the love of racing. They're buying parts. They're trying to go faster. All of that. I'm not going to pressure you to build a drag strip because I know it's not your call, but you clearly see something's happening down there. So just talk a little bit about that program and the connection of Homestead Miami Speedway and drag racing.
Yeah, I think that Fastlane Friday is a great example of how the Speedway takes their role as a good corporate citizen very seriously. You know, Joe, as you know, we started this program when there was a lot of kids getting hurt and having accidents and drag racing, you know, on an alley somewhere on a deserted road, Chrome Avenue, whatever it may be. And we said, you know what, let's give these kids an outlet. Let's give them a safe place to do what they love to do and they have a passion for. And we're going to continue to build on that, Joe. You know, the NHRA model is difficult. We have a track in our family, a Route 66 raceway up in Chicagoland. And so we have experience with NHRA, with the national, and understand the numbers and how they work. So we're taking a serious look at it. I'll tell you that for a world-class drag facility like that, it's going to be a long day. But you know, as you know, one of my mentors, Mr. France, said, you know what, we'll crawl up their legs slowly on that one. So if we can kind of find a way to, if nothing else, lengthen the track at a true quarter mile, even though it doesn't have all the infrastructure necessary for an NHRA type national event. But if we can prove that there's demand and, you know, little by little, it may turn into something. So there's no immediate plans. We're hurting right now with the pandemic and revenues being soft. But, you know, I tend to, and I'm charged with looking 5, 6, 7 years down the road. And something like that is certainly is part of the plan.
Well, and exactly, and that's it. Just being on the radar, thinking about how we're going to grow our way into the next era of successful motorsports. The only thing I want to say though is I feel like that the Chicagoland example is not the best one, and I know that's in the family, of course, but the Miami scene with the great weather and the car culture, I just think we would have a much better go of it than they do. And we're also closer to the big city, but that's something for another day.
From what I understand, if you look at the NHRA membership, there's only 2 states that have more NHRA members than Florida. One is California, and the other one is Indiana. And I think we're 3rd as far as number of NHRA members. So yes, there is demand and there's interest.
Well, that's it. And look at me and Miami Hollywood Speedway back in the day, and all those Darrell Gwynn, Jerry Gwynn, there's so much history in the Miami area. And I know, if nothing else, like even if it never got to that level, that these kids, they're bringing their families, they love being at the facility, twice a month. Like, to be able to be there and use the facility and have fun and grow together, that's what it's all about. It builds a culture. All right, but my listeners, they care about Miami, but they want to know your fantasy league picks. That's what they want to know. They want to know, Al, we have a fantasy league, as you know. So you don't have to pick the winners, but who do you think is going to run well in the Dixie Vodka 400?
Denny Hamlin. You can't ignore Chase Elliott, but I'll give you a dark horse. The last time we had 2 first-time winners to start the season was 1960. And as you told Quinn, the first time we had 3 first-time winners was the first year of NASCAR, 1949, right?
Yeah.
How about the 42? Ross Chastain, Florida native from across on the other side of Alligator Alley. Watch out. Ganassi's kind of putting their program together a little bit, and they're getting better, stronger and stronger. And it would be fantastic to see the 3rd first-time winner here at the Dixie Vodka 400 in the form of one Ross Chastain.
I love that you're repping the Florida drivers just like you're supposed to. And I like it. And we're going to put it down. Chip not going to be there. We saw that news, but hey, maybe, while the Chip's away, the drivers will play and then you guys will pay.
Yes, sir. I'd love to. I'd love to see him in victory lane.
So you said there are tickets available for Saturday. So for people in the area that want to shoot out there and check out the Contender Boats 250, what's their best way to do it? Just show up to the track, go through the ticket booth, or is it online? Like, how's that being handled?
Well, the first and easiest way is to dial 1-866-409-RACE, which would be 866-409-7223. Our website, HomesteadMiamiSpeedway.com, is another outlet, or come on down. The box office will be open Friday if they're in the area. If not, come Saturday morning and saddle up and purchase a ticket and come on in. The weather's supposed to be phenomenal, and I'm really looking forward to Austin Cindric and all the stars of the Xfinity Series and the Contender Boats 250. What they've got, because it's going to be exciting.
It is going to be exciting. Al, thank you very much. I always love catching up with you. It's a shame we only do this, once a year. Maybe we can get that thing happening, like you suggested, the doubleheader weekend. But I really appreciate, first of all, I'm always honored to work at the Speedway. It's one of my favorite things that I get to do. Being at the NHRA, I see drag racing at its highest level. Being out there, it connects me with why everybody is doing what they do. Like genuine love for cars and family, and going out there and trying to turn it loose and go as quick as you possibly can in a safe environment. And that's number one. The fact that we've got Cup Series racers out there and the Speedway has ascended to the highest levels. I never would have imagined 22 years ago when we started this that it would have done it, but you've done it. Congratulations. And thank you for coming on WFO Radio.
Once again, Joe, thank you. Thank you very much for what you do for motorsports, and thank you for having me.
Awesome, Al. See you out there this weekend. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.
All right. There he goes, Al Garcia, with us here on WFO Radio, bringing me back to my motorsports Saturday days. 5:60 QAM, 6 a.m. in the morning, getting in at like 5:20 and gathering all the stories and printing them out and talking NASCAR. And that's how I got on the air. Honestly, I remember being in the morning what was I? I was a morning show producer, and Joe Rose, who caught Dan Marino's first touchdown pass, was in there. And it was when Jeff Gordon in 1998 had won like 5 in a row. And he said to me, he's like, you know about this NASCAR stuff, because Marino himself was a big NASCAR guy. You may remember Jerry Nadeau and Dan Marino, the 13 car, was part owner on that car. Marino and Rose were best pals because Rose caught Marino's first touchdown pass. And so Joe Rose asks me, he's like, what's up with this Gordon guy? Think about it. It's 1998. And it's like, the guy is the goods. And, Al mentioned the whole transition of NASCAR to a mainstream sport and how it continues on with diversity. At that time, Joe Rose was leery of the deep South nature of NASCAR. And I'm like, Gordon breaks the mold. Gordon changes everything. This guy is absolutely and completely mainstream, and you're going to see he's going to carry the sport into the next level. And so anyway, through my conversations about it, and me getting on the air might have everything to do with Jeff Gordon winning like 5 in a row. I was able to talk my way on the air. Like, you need a NASCAR show. And of course, once I got on the air, I immediately started to talk NHRA drag racing as a bracket racer myself at Miami Hollywood and Moroso Motorsports Park, track champion down there. And I had the cred and did, from 1999 to 2004 on 560 QAM, worked my way to XM satellite radios, NASCAR radio. I was the nighttime guy from 8 to 10 p.m. And we went from 1.9 million subscribers to 8 million subscribers. And I'm taking a lot of credit for that. Certainly changed the game with what they were doing, and then started WFO in 2009. And here we are. And now I work for the National Hot Rod Association and all of you folks that enjoy the show out there. It's as simple as that. I love the Speedway, and I can't wait till we are able to give away tickets. We've certainly put a lot of WFO butts in seats over the years. All right, if people out there, throw a comment in the comment section. I know I can see that the NASCAR stuff, like, we've got a drag racing crowd. And as much as I want to believe that if it's got a wheels, an engine, and a driver, we're interested. Reinhardt and I were talking NASCAR Cup yesterday, talking, Hartford, Total Seal Piston Rings, Lake Speed, clearly karting and NASCAR. The people that are insiders in the industry, they love it all. But if you're a fan, of course, you're a fan of drag racing. I get it. And that's where I'm at with WFO. But when Homestead Miami Speedway comes on the calendar, we're going to talk NASCAR, certainly. So real quick, I want to tell you about the people who make it possible for me to go WFO. And Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology, samtech.edu, Total Seal, Samtech, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, and Marvin Rodak, 817-924-6821. Give Marvin a call, order up some coffee or hot sauce. I'm almost out of coffee and hot sauce. I'm almost out, and I'm starting to stress. It's really hard to stretch the coffee out, put less in there. Also, Nitro Fish Racing. If you want our 10th anniversary t-shirt, we're currently out of stock on the WFO radio face coverings, getting ready to get reloaded. Put your comments in the comment section. I'm going to talk about a couple of things, though. This weekend is the perfect weekend for the Dixie Vodka 400, because next weekend is already loaded up with motorsports events. Orlando Speed World Dragway is where I'm going to be, the World Door Slammer Nationals. If you've been following the news media, you know that I'm going to be calling the action with Al Tucci. Big press release went out the other day, and Al going to be on the mic. I got to call Al, by the way. We got to work it out, right? But I'm super excited to see Greg Anderson and Erica Enders and all the stars of NHRA Camping World Pro Stock battle it out for $75,000. It's going to be a great event. Plus, E3 Sparkplugs Pro Modified race cars, Pro Mod cars are going to be there. I do not have a confirmation on which drivers are going to be there, but I would imagine all the big stars. Last year, Stevie Fast was there, goes on and wins a championship. So if you love door slammer drag racing, and you are anywhere near Orlando, Florida next weekend, like maybe you came down for NASCAR and you're on your way back to wherever you're going, well, swing by Orlando Speed World, because it's going to be great. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the chip draw, it's going to be broadcast. It's going to be great. But let's say you hate Joe Costello. You just hate the guy, and you can't go where he is. Okay, that's fine. West Palm Beach, the Pro Winter Warm-Up Test Session for Nitro cars. The furthest south Nitro is coming. And John Force, Capco, Steve Torrance, DSR, Leah, all going to be out there. Coletta Motorsports. It's going to be streamed on Comp Plus. Bobby doing the deal on the live stream. So that's going to be cool. You guys going to be bouncing back and forth on streams. If you happen to like NMCA, they're going to be in Bradenton. And if you are a Lucas Oil Series racer that would like to win a championship, or you want to follow stock and super stock and comp eliminator, all that, Gainesville Raceway, the Baby Gators, a huge event, and class for the Gator Nationals, etc., will be run at the Baby Gators. So that's 4 major drag racing events going on next weekend, not 2 days from now, but next weekend, the 5th through 7th in the state of Florida. And you wonder why I live here. How about Al Garcia with the NHRA membership stat? Exactly. And his discussion of like NHRA track and national event, like the idea that it's been thought and it's on his radar at all is awesome. I do not like the comparison to Chicagoland. It's unfortunate. I do not like the comparison because they can't race all year, number one. Number two, it's a major metropolis, but the track is a little bit far away from, the city area, Joliet. You think about the Blues Brothers down there. Homestead Miami Speedway is closer to the metropolis, and the metropolis is a much more driving metropolis. There is no public transportation here in South Florida. You drive everywhere and everybody drives, which is why we get 300 cars for Fastlane Friday and about 1,000 or so spectators every time we do it, maybe more. I think it would be the biggest NHRA national event outside of, Gainesville and Indy. It would be massive because people would fly in from the islands in South America and Puerto Rico. It would be the most diverse event we've got. But, this is pie in the sky stuff. What am I? I always say I'm 38 years old now. By the time I'm 50, that could be a reality. You got to plan ahead. You got to think ahead. What's possible? Where's growth coming from? What markets are we not in that we could be in? What markets have interest? What markets care? And this is a market that cares. Definitely. Miami, Fort Lauderdale, definitely. Would they not go to the Gator Nationals? No, they would definitely also go to the Gator Nationals, I think. All right, final comments in the comments section. And this would have been when I was talking about all that door slammer racing. It would have been a good opportunity to put up Steve Brenwald's great photographs from last year from the World Door Slammer Nationals. Check out Stevie Fast. Look at this. And then, of course, Pro Stock. Greg Anderson. Look how close people are. Look at Wes over there. You can recognize people's faces. You're so close out there at Orlando Speed World. It's going to be mega. Alex Laughlin won it last year in the Caruso's machine. It was awesome. We had a great time, and I'm looking forward to it. Did I delete the photograph of me and Jason Logan? That would be a terrible, terrible thing. Yeah, I guess I did. What was this? No, that's something different. Anyway. All right, final comments in the comment section. Yeah, I had a great photo of myself and Jason Logan. There's Randy Lynn. And I deleted it. Jason Logan going to be the official DJ, by the way. All right, let's see what everybody has to say. Let's see what you guys have to say out there. Kev, hopefully, Ross Chastain. You got that one out of him. Thank you, Kev. Scott says, great show. Thank you very much. Yeah, quickie today. Mitchell, I like watching NASCAR, but I don't care for the stages. See, I like the stages, Mitchell. I get where you're coming from, but I think they video gamified it. I like racing to the stage flag. I think it turns a meaningless part of the race into a meaningful part of the race. Simple as that. And I like it. It's just something you got to get used to. It's a perspective thing. Let's see. Kev says, good show, Joe. Hope Al picks a 42 car. Will be getting me some points. Oh, you're going to go with it, huh? F1 over NASCAR for me being European. I remember when Jeff Gordon had his final race that Lewis Hamilton, which I would imagine you're a Lewis guy, being from the UK, flew in to watch Gordon's final race. So think about what Lewis Hamilton must think about NASCAR to make that trip to just come and celebrate. They're all a little different, and there's beautiful and amazing aspects to all motorsports. We only have so many hours in our lives for entertainment, so nobody can know everything about all of them. I love Formula One. I love it. I would love for my team, Haas F1, and for Ferrari to be able to step up and step forward. Lewis's domination is kind of squelched a little of my fan interest because my guys aren't winning. And that's just part of life, right? When your guys don't win, you're less interested. When your guys win, you're more interested. You can only be so interested in the given time. But I like them both is the point. They are the highest level of motorsports. Formula One, definitely more expensive. Let's see. Joe, I will see you in Orlando. Way to go, Mitchell. I'll be there. I will be there. Nice to hear a possible NHRA track being thought of, at least down the road. Exactly. I feel like that was maybe a little breaking future news being considered. I would hope somebody out there in the NHRA universe might have heard that, would reach out, would, try to cultivate something there, because you never know. And at very least, try to disconnect the connection with Route 66 Raceway. It's just too dissimilar. There's not a lot to connect other than there's a facility, a NASCAR facility and a drag racing facility, and it's owned by NASCAR. Like, that's the connection. But I think that other facilities, like, of course I don't need to list anybody, but have proven their community is what makes the race. Guys like Bandamere that are just successful because they are connected to the community, as Homestead is. Let's see. There you go. Team Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes all the way. Haas based in the UK, about 40 minutes drive from me. Love Haas F1 as well. We root for them very hard. We need them to take a step forward this year, I think. I really think the pandemic hurt a lot of development last year when it came to the Formula One teams. And of course, cars are starting to be launched. I saw a report on Alpha the other day. If you are interested in Formula One, the Ignition Show is for you, because we talk Formula One and NASCAR. Brainerd.
The zoo.
Of course. Longtime track part of the community. I'm a big believer in you got to build to grow. You got to grow to survive. You got to go big. And we've seen it over the years. Ralph Sanchez, who worked with Al. Al was Ralph's right-hand man when they built Homestead Miami Speedway. The dream of the facility out there in the wreckage of Hurricane Andrew, to build it as big as they did, a mini Indy, if you will, to think that they would be doing what they're doing, and just one of the most significant facilities in all the world, because they're active like 320 days a year. There's some sort of testing, there's some sort of road course racing, there's some sort of school going on. Why? Because of the weather. And now with Fastlane Friday, and I myself am an announcer down there whenever I can, you can see the pent up desire to race for so many people in this fantastic area. We got Trans Am drivers, Ernie Francis Jr. coming out of South Florida. Of course, IndyCar stars like Tony Kanaan and Elio Castroneves from down here. But to me, we're a drag racing town. Daryl Gwynn. That's all you need to know. DG, Jerry Gwynn, Baby Huey, Miami Hollywood Speedway. We like drag racing the most in Miami, as much as we all love all kinds of motorsport. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Big thanks to Quinn Houff. Appreciate you, Quinn. Good luck in the race. Thanks for coming on WFO. Really appreciate it. Al Garcia as well. If you don't have your tickets, get your tickets already for the Contender Boats 250. And if you're heading down there, have a great time, of course. WFO tomorrow, 12 noon. Don Garlitz. Is that happening? You're going to have to log on to find out. WFO, everybody.